So I just had a conversation with my father earlier after I rang him up. On Father's Day, of course, after having bought him tickets to Roger Daltrey to wish him a happy Father's Day and to see what's going to happen about tomorrow because the gig is tomorrow. And he's gotten upset now about some of the things that I was posting on Facebook about him and his girlfriend and their long history of abuse towards me. And yeah, he also threatened me again, which he always does, with sectioning under the Mental Health Act. And the implication there is clearly that unless I take the videos down, he's going to try and get me sectioned. Like, well, you can't really do that in law because that contravenes my right to the freedom of belief and the freedom of expression. Maybe you can try and pursue action through the civil courts if you feel that you're getting defamed. And pursue an injunction against me through civil proceedings. But there's never been any kind of motivation towards pursuing anything like that on their parts, since their approach has always been to invoke criminal consequences or civil sections of the Mental Health Act. Rather than any kind of civil legal proceedings, which would be more appropriate given the context. What they instead do, like, had, for instance, once last year, in sort of about February or so, during lockdown, I posted some video about Nikki Lewis online, his girlfriend, and she 3 police officers sent round to my house trying to accuse me, oh, it's Malcolm's, it's Malcolm's. It's like, no, it isn't. It's not sent to her. It's like, if anything, it's defamation, which it isn't, because it's all the truth. Or it's speculation, in which case it's my honest opinion. So, I'm entitled to my opinion. Sorry. Mental health problems or no. You know, like, to suggest otherwise, well, you're going to turn, like, disabled people, like mentally ill people, into second-class citizens in society. And you contravene the Human Rights Act in that way. And there's an issue of false imprisonment and freedom from, and like also a right to privacy issue in personal and family life. And that's been invaded by external forces in the NHS to quite a great extent in my case, and many other infractions, I think, against the Human Rights Act. So what this amounts to is a huge campaign over many years of bullying, coercion, intimidation, threats, physical violence, something that could possibly be construed as sexual violence, even on his part. You know, the unwanted touching of me, my torso. I have to say, get off me, in a recording of him that I have of him committing a hate crime, a homophobically motivated series of assaults. And he's clearly drunk in the video, drives away afterwards, almost certainly over the limit, back to his girlfriend's pad, you know. And what did the police do? I think, like, he slammed my head into a wall one time. He attacked me with a wine bottle. They did nothing about that. Like, do they drag him in for observation into a psychiatric hospital? Of course not, because she's in local government. And she's got connections all over the place, with magistrates and these other people. And she's, by the way, head of adult health and social care, Yorkshire Council. The connections in, well, guess where? Well, the NHS, obviously. And she after all that land and the money? I think that's highly likely. And she, like, a murderer? I think a would-be murderer, certainly. Maybe she's actually had people killed. I suspect that's very possible. And yeah, it's vexing, really, to be in the situation. Of course, it's a huge impact on my mental health as well. So any, like, feigned interest in my mental state, like, by NHS bods, people, like, totally hypocritical, superficial, shallow, meaningless, basically. You're not interested in anyone's mental health. You're interested in covering up criminal activity. The expense of one person's mental health for the sake of, preventing the sufferings of people who should be put through the judicial system and made to rightly suffer. It's very unfair. And also, like, given their behavior and their personalities, and what I've managed to glean about those over the last few years, my relatively uneducated opinion on the matter would be that they're very likely suffering from a personality disorder of one description or another. Antisocial personality disorder? Yeah, I wouldn't think that that's out of the question so far as my dad and his girlfriend are concerned. Perhaps for that reason, they're perfect for one another. So, what do they need to? What needs to happen to them? They need to be brought in for observation and assessment under the Mental Health Act. I've got evidence of a crime being committed against me, and in the videos, he seems drunken, certainly, if not rather unhinged, and like spouting this babble and like, oh, you get your mum in debt, and someone's like, he doesn't understand how a bloody student loan works. He's got like a low IQ, let's face it. And yeah, violent, drunken, and yeah, it's like led to like recall this like horrible little photo of him I saw once of him in his 20s next to his Mini Coopers, and he's got this horrible like mean odd man look on his face. He's like so smug and proud of himself. I know exactly the sort of dude you are. Like you're like a little boy, didn't grow up. Mommy and daddy throwing all the money at you, spoiled brat, going around getting in fights all the time, loving a punch up. Like a yob, basically. Like a local thug. Like, that's what he is. He's thuggish. And mean, cruel, stupid, like not open to logic, not open to sound argument, never admit he's wrong, thinks he knows everything, thinks he knows how the world works for real. And yeah, unfortunately, it is corrupt and manipulable. But ideally, it isn't. And I like who in the police or the NHS like really wants these people to get away with all this. Surely that's not why you become a police officer. And surely you don't get into the NHS to make victims of crime suffer even more in mental health services. So just why would it benefit you as a person? Why would it give you any like level of satisfaction and fulfillment just to sort of toe the line established by more powerful individuals? You got little boys in men's bodies don't have virtue. Men have virtue, real men, or they at least try and cultivate it. But as no man, not at all. A child, basically. A child's mind, a child's stupid prejudices, and sees all the the ghosts and demons, and I think she's a god, more or less. And treats me awfully, has treated me awfully in the past for suffering from an illness. And bigotry, discrimination, all the rest of that shit. And he's like every stereotype of farmers rolled into a human being. There's better people out there, better farmers out there, and he barely does any farming anyway. He's not worthy of respect, and he's certainly not taking to see Roger Daltrey tomorrow.